We have from New Jersey DOT, first up, they're going to be talking about their asset management strategies. Gerald Oliveto and Roger Estilivetti. They're going to do a tag team.
Hi, so I'm Gerald. I'll start off. That's one of our bridges. That's US Highway 1 over the Raritan River, built 1929. Little interesting story behind it is the chief engineer at the time, his name was Donald Goodkind, built the northbound side, and then in 1973 his son built the southbound side. So you can see it, and it was designed so that the southbound side wouldn't interfere with sight lines when you're looking down the river, so it would preserve the beauty of the original 1929 bridge. So that's one of our favorites, but it's a bear to work on. So bridge preservation is defined as actions or strategies that prevent, delay, or reduce deterioration of bridges or bridge elements, restore the function of existing bridges, keep bridges in good condition, and extend their life. Preservation actions may be preventive or condition-driven. So we'll touch a little on the condition-driven ones because that's mostly our state-funded contracts, and then we'll go into depth on our preventive contracts because that's our federal funds. So a little bit of background about New Jersey. We have 8.8 million people in 7,300 square miles and 1,205 inhabitants per square mile. And with that, 690 vehicles per 1,000 people. So we have a lot of people in a little area and a lot more people just passing through on our highways. So we have 39,000 miles of public roadways, 3,000 miles of state and US highways that fall under NJDOT jurisdiction, 500 miles of interstate highways that fall under NJDOT jurisdiction. There's 6,542 highway carrying bridges, but of those, only 2,545 are NJDOT jurisdiction. And with those, we have 117 orphan bridges, which are just little roads that go over railroads. And as the railroads changed hands, they decided they didn't want to take care of their bridges, so the state took them. So they're called orphans. And we also have 17 operational drawbridges. So you could see our roadmap, and I'm pretty sure New Jersey is the only state in the union where you can describe where you live based on an exit number. So our bureau is called now the Bureau of Operations Support. We're in the middle of a reorg. And we have several measures in place to preserve and extend the service life of our bridges. And unlike a lot of other states, all of our repair work is competitively bid and performed with outside contractors through annually issued contracts. So we actually have 72 state crews, but all they do is general highway maintenance. We don't have any dedicated bridge crews to perform our work. And even though we have contractors doing all of our work, there is always a state inspector on site with the crew. So we always have some kind of representation out on site. So our annual contract management, we have 7 state-funded if and where directed contracts, and they total $47 million. And then we have 6 federally funded site-specific contracts totaling $32 million. So our state-funded contracts, these are more of the condition-driven preventive actions. We have concrete repair in our north region that totals $9 million per year, concrete repair in our south region that totals $5.5 million per year, our drawbridge and tunnel contract that totals $15 million per year, timber and underwater repair totals $6.5 million per year, structural steel repair is $4 million per year, orphan bridge is $1.5 million per year, and our job order contract repairs are $5.5 million. So that comes out to $47 million in state funds. And then our federally funded contracts, this is where we get the most bang for our buck. We have 2 bridge preventive maintenance contracts each year that total $5 million each, 2 painting contracts each year that total $8 million each, and then 2 job order contracts each year that total $3 million each. So our bridge preventive maintenance program repairs bridges with NBI deck superstructure or substructure ratings of 5 or higher on the scale of 0 to 9. It was created in 2007 and 2009. We got it included in the stimulus package, and since then it's been federally funded. So we put out 2 bridge preventive maintenance contracts each year, and each contract repairs roughly 40 bridges along a single corridor or geographic area. And that's where we started in 2007. We've kind of just gone clockwise around the state. The goal is to hit at least every bridge once. We're working towards the goal, but there's a lot of bridges and not enough money. So our structure selection for the Bridge Preventive Maintenance Program is based on inspection reports from structural evaluation. That's our team that goes out and does the inspections on the structures. That's not done with our maintenance forces. That's done by a whole separate entity within DOT. And the inspection reports note deficiencies and generate work orders for maintenance repairs. And then a cluster of work orders triggers a selection of corridor for repairs. And then if there's outlying structures that aren't selected on the corridor, we can handle those with our job order contracts, which is kind of a modified bridge preventive maintenance program. And it allows us to use FHWA money for more or less if and where directive preventive maintenance repairs. It does follow the same process with the federal approval and environmental clearances and all that, but it's a modified process. This is our work order system. So when our inspection team goes out and then they find deficiencies, they'll put the deficiency into what's called a work order. And then the work order will show up in our email, and then we'll have it in this dashboard. And it'll say who it's assigned to, who the project manager is, and what the deficiency is. And then when you go in, you click on the work order. It's as boring as it looks. You go in and it shows you everything that needs to be done on the bridge, and then you can attach things to it. You can show pictures. You can describe exactly what needs to be done. So they come through all filled out from structural, what needs to be done on the bridges. And then what we'll do is we'll go in and we'll complete the repairs and then note in the work order what was done, what materials were used, photos, completion pictures, the cost, all that good stuff. So work orders created by our structural evaluation team fall into 3 categories. A type E is an emergency repair. It means they're going to close the lane. Someone's got to get out there right now and fix it immediately. Those are typically our state-funded contracts. And a type 1 repair, priority 1, means the deficiency has to be addressed within 30 days. So with federal clearances, it's a little tough to get that kind of repair federally funded, so that's also state-funded, more or less. Or if we can, get a job order contract out there to do it. And then a type 2 repair, which is a priority 2, means that a deficiency has to be addressed within 6 months. And those are the ones that we address with our preventive maintenance contracts. And then if a structure has no associated work order with it, meaning the inspection team goes out, they don't find any deficiencies with it, but we include the structure in our bridge preventive maintenance contract, we'll create a work order when all the work is done, just so that there's a record of work being done on it. Anybody in the DOT can go in, they can look at the work order, they can research the structure and see what was done, how much it cost, look at pictures, and see exactly when it was worked on. So it's accessible internally to all NJDOT employees through the website login, both in the office and in the field. So it's been a pretty good system. The only downfall is it doesn't really talk to our asset management system, which is Combus is what we're using now, which is a derivative of Pontus. So long term, we'd like to get the work order system and Combus talking to each other so that there's just one-stop shopping for anybody to look at records of maintenance. And then work orders are closed out as repairs are made to a structure. Closeout of a work order sends necessary information back to structural evaluation for reevaluation of the superstructure, substructure, and deck. And like I said before, the type of repairs, materials, cost of repair, and completion photos are all noted. So our scope of work for the preventive maintenance contract is pretty comprehensive. It's been expanding ever since 2009 when we got it federally funded. Every structure on a contract that we treat is treated equally from top to bottom, and it's outlined in a joint FHWA guideline document that we have. I have a few copies too if anybody from the DOTs want to see it, see me after class. So we have header repair, before and after, curb repair, deck repair. I'm sure we've all seen that picture on the left. You go out there, the deck looks fine, and then you go hitting it with a hammer, and it's way over budget. Joint reseal, header repair. We also have a hot mix asphalt patch item in the contract to protect our headers or approach slabs from further deterioration. So that's all visible in that photo. Sidewalk installation. We repair settled sidewalks on the approaches, sidewalks on the bridges. This was one of our better ones. Someone decided that was a good spot to end the sidewalk on the left side. So we had to relocate the sidewalk, relocate the guide rail, and connect that sidewalk to an existing municipal sidewalk. Bridge deck crack sealing, pretty straightforward. Deck corrosion inhibitor. This is the only type of sealing that NJDOT does on our bridges. We don't do any kind of linseed oil or any other sealing other than power washing the decks and applying the corrosion inhibitor. So that's what it looks like. You go out there, you power wash the deck, wait for it to dry, and then you put the corrosion inhibitor down. Approach slab repairs. The hot mix asphalt patch, there it is again. It's a pretty useful item, and it really protects the headers, especially when there's deteriorated asphalt next to them. Fence installation, that goes in where it's warranted. If there's heavy pedestrian traffic across the structure with sidewalks on either side and no fence, but most of the bridges in New Jersey have fence on them now. Traffic line restriping. This is pretty useful when we have to go in there and you cut lots of patches into the deck. You're taking out a lot of the striping. So at the end of the contract, one of the last things we'll do is put the stripes back in. Installation of reflective delineators. That's also a pretty useful item too. A lot of the bridges have no target value on them, so we put it on them for them. We also replaced our structure ID plates. A lot of our bridges have them missing, stolen. So what we've done now is included this in the contract. So the contractor will go out and they'll just apply the new bridge plate. So the top number is our structure number, bottom number is the milepost. But it's pretty useful for guys that go out there and there's no identification on the bridges, especially when it's labeled like ramp A over ramp M. Substructure concrete repair. Waterproofing epoxy, we do that on all our concrete beams, abutments, piers. It's another pretty useful item. Substructure crack sealing. Lubrication of the bearings. One thing with the lubrication of the bearings, we included this in the contract starting in 2013, and we've noticed significant movement in our joints since we started lubing the bearings again. So I guess everything's operating the way it should now. And then just some other ones that I don't have pictures of. Bridge deck sweeping, cleaning of scuppers and pipes, RPM replacement, repair of damaged bridge guide rail and guide rail bridge attachments, and then repair of erosion and scour. And then the average cost for the full bridge preventive maintenance treatment, wait for it, $125,000 per bridge. So the taxpayer is getting a huge bang for their buck with this contract. And then this part of the contract is pretty fun too. The public communication. Doesn't matter where you go in New Jersey, there's traffic. And wherever there's traffic, there's angry motorists. So what we try to do is let the public know beforehand what's coming down the pike. There's contracts in the area. We notify our traffic operations division before the contract even goes out to bid. And they give us allowable lane closure hours on each structure. So if we're allowed to go days 9 to 3, days 7 to 3, nights, they'll let us know. And then that's all included in the contract so the contractors know how to bid and they can bid accordingly. And then our communications department and our community relations divisions are consulted after the award of the contract when the construction's getting close. So our communications office issues a press release and notifies the media outlets of upcoming contract and construction. And then our community relations department notifies the individual affected townships. So the mayors, the police chiefs, the EMS, they'll all be notified. It kind of helps too, notifying the police chief so you don't get the local cops showing up out there asking what's going on. So this is just a sample press release. It tells the public what's going on, and it goes out to the media outlets. It's been pretty useful. Our inspectors have it on site too. This way everybody could say they were notified. And then during construction, weekly traffic interference reports are sent to our traffic operations division. And then they post it on our 511 website, and they also notify the public with the VMS boards in the area. And that's just our sample 511 website. It's pretty useful. I'll turn it over to Roger now. He's going to talk about bridge painting and our drawbridge preventive maintenance contract.
I guess here comes the fun stuff. Bridge painting, or what I like to call the lost art of watching paint dry, basically. So, well, we like to stick to make sure we have a good surface preparation and go with an SB10 or near white blast cleaning. But we have a lot of railroad bridges, and since the mid-'80s, New Jersey has been we've been doing a lot of lead abatement and bridge painting. It's probably one of our pilot programs that we've established for quite a long time now. So we go with the SP3. Like I said, when we can't get to a deck that has a railroad or any other issues that we can't get a near white blast clean on. We also do we do painting of the end beams as well with that. And like I said, we are starting to get into SP3 power tool cleaning an entire structure. Like I said, since the 80s, we've been doing a lot of painting, and we're coming back around again and finding a lot of our structures where the painting has been holding up pretty well. So we use a 3-coat system with that, with a aluminum mastic epoxy in order to encapsulate the paint that is not loose. So some other types of work we do on this contract are substructure repairs, like Gerald talked about, pretty much the same thing. Structural steel repairs we've added over the last three or so years, just because we found it a problem where we get out there, especially when a structure has its steel rapidly deteriorating. We get out there and we're blasting with the SP10, and we're blowing right through webs and gusset plates and whatnot. So we've been able to get that federally funded last couple of years too. Reset bearings, like Gerald talked about, the lubrication of those bearings as well, and the epoxy waterproofing. So the problem with New Jersey and most painting is the market is a derivative of how much everything costs. So when there's a lot of painting jobs out there, our prices go sky through the roof because everybody's busy. And sometimes when it's not, we get bridges done real cheap. But we found the average to be about $350,000 for painting all of our structures over the last couple of years. All right, so Gerald talked about how we choose our structures on what to paint. So what we do is in the work order system, we also upload photos and pictures of before and after, and we notify them that the painting was completed. So, and like Gerald covered, we have a couple contracts that are federally funded. We try to, we try to work together and try to get everything done correctly in a cooperative manner with each other. So this was one of the projects where we had a couple contracts work together. Bridge painting contract came in 2010 on this structure and did all the deck repairs and substructure repairs. And then in 2013, a couple years down the road, we came by and we painted the steel members. Again, another bridge we did that coordinated between these two contracts. On top of that as well, we at the JOCs, we've been doing a lot of coordination with them as well. So what we would like to do is we come in there with the preventive maintenance. We do as much of the deck work and all that we can. Then the JOCs come up, touch up what they can, and then the bridge painting comes in last over the next couple of years, and then paints it. So here's a before and after a near white blast. This one is near and dear to my heart. This is what I work on, is the orphan structures. This bridge is it's a very small local road over the Columbia Trail, which is now a nature trail for observers to come by and walk along. So what we did here was a near white blast, and the end product is a big difference. So if you notice, the other structures were painted with green, and when we have our pretty much painting schemes like everybody else, where green is over land, blue is over water, and black is typically railroad or some historic structure that we're told to go ahead and paint that color. So again here, this is a bridge that we did probably in the early 90s where we painted. and we just came by and did an SP3 power tool cleaning. So, and like I touched earlier, after we complete these structures, we notify our structural department that the painting was completed, and within a certain amount of time frame, they come out and reevaluate the painting conditions, and they update our inventory. All right, so this is another monster we've created. The drawbridge preventive maintenance contract, which this is going to be a huge undertaking upon our part, especially when you got guys like me and Gerald who have been filling holes on structures for the last couple of years. Now we're talking about, greasing cables, motors, electrical systems, alarm systems, and it's just ginormous what we're doing here. So we're going to roll this out hopefully in 2016, and it's a big collaboration between us, the FHWA, and our structural teams. So a little bit more history. We have about 17 operational highway drawbridges that we are responsible for maintaining. And we're pretty much going to give it the same treatment that we have been, except for a couple other things we're going to be adding. These are some of the things that we're going to be adding. Cleaning and lubrication of drawbridge lift cables, which our state forces used to do, and we turned that over to contractors years ago after it's just become very apparent that it's one of the most difficult things for them to do, because you got grease and everything flying all over the place, and you're typically doing this with traffic coming by, and we've messed up quite a number of our Publix cars while doing that operation. So that's one thing we're gonna, hopefully we get to change with this. We are going to be doing some cleaning and lubrication of the sheave assemblies, and going to be adding the pest control brush replacements in the on the lift spans. We're going to be again doing some more paintings with steel surface preparation and spot painting, pretty much throughout the bridge houses, and as many steel members as we can get to. Some other things we're adding are we're going to be servicing our warning gongs, our junction boxes, our warning and barrier gate mechanical equipment. We're going to be lubricating and servicing the span locks and other mechanical and electrical equipment. We're going to also be servicing the machinery room and motor brake equipment, the span motor, the control system cabinetry, the louver assembly, and power distribution transformers. We're always looking into what we can do in order to help our bridges out, and we're going to, with every year we get more money, because we can actually show that the amount of work we're doing is going to good use. So, and we're always researching, and we're constantly in touch with our structural evaluation team and other surrounding states as to what they're doing. And one of the good things that we have is a pretty good relationship with our various product manufacturers, and we're always trying to get ahead of the curve. So some new items we're going to be adding for 2016 that we're looking to, hopefully, if not within the next couple of years, is the bridge deck and bridge deck diamond grinding. Hopefully this can, what we have is a lot of problems with, and you guys have faced it as well, with newer construction. We're not allowed to completely close structures, and we're getting a lot of movement, during our concrete pours, and our bridges are just not rideable. So, but we're hoping that this, we can also expand it to bridges that have a lot of repairs. We're looking to establish a criteria on that with over 50% of the patching on these decks, and hopefully with with diamond grinding, what that'll do is alleviate banging and stressing out, the concrete that has not been repaired. So, one other thing that we've been looking at is a thin overlay on bridge decks. And hopefully we can get to carbon wrapping, which is something that we've tried on the time and material contracts, or the if and where directed contracts that Gerald has talked about. So, which we're actually quite pleased with what they're doing there and how they're holding up. So, like I stated, we keep working and maintaining on these structures as much as we can, and that's all due to our close relationship with the FHWA in order to maximize our federal monies that we can get, whatever we could get our hands on. And because all these programs are in-house and maintenance, we can coordinate and get a lot of work done, and that's just what's keeping our structures together, basically. So, our long-term goals are to, as Gerald talked about, we're going to input our work order system and combine that with the COMBUS in order to generate work and predict a model for more treatments that we can do in the future. And what that'll do is give us a cookbook, so in 3 or 4 years we can go ahead and overlay it, seal it, or if we want to spend more money on joints or on joint repairs and reseals. So, and then hopefully what this will do is when we go to meetings with FHWA or other entities, we can say, hey, look, we need X amount of dollars in order to get more work done, and that hopefully gets more money for us in order to keep this thing going. So, any questions?
As you folks are contracting the work out, have you developed maintenance specs or detail sheets for the work, or are you using the ones that design uses?
We have special provisions for each individual contract. Each bridge gets treated specially. They all get the same treatment, but each one gets its own conditions in the spec.
You have a joint repair detail sheet, for instance?
That's a standard detail in our construction details.
I have a quick question with regards to the asset management program you're using. Now, you said that the inspectors actually input the work orders or generate the work orders,
Correct.
and you are prioritizing the work in 3 different categories: emergency, 2, and 1.
Yes.
And now, what happens to all the activities that do not need to be addressed within 30 days? How do those get
So if we're going into a corridor, let's just say we're going to select 6 bridges in that corridor that need extensive work. We're not just going to target those 6. We're going to take the bridges that are surrounding it as well. So then we'll expand that to maybe 20, and we'll do the other 14 as well.
But how do you, where do you put the threshold from priority 1 and not addressing it at all? How does that get determined?
Everything gets addressed.
In certain time frames.
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
We started a similar program in Massachusetts, and we were taking the information from the inspection reports and putting it into an asset management program. And there was a work order generated from each defect, and it ended up being about 30 to 40 to 60, work orders per bridge. Obviously, not all of those are going to get addressed at once. So I was just curious, how do you address everything? I mean, everything, because every
All right, so our work orders are a little different in that when the inspection team goes out, it's just one work order for their entire inspection. So we're not going to have 60, we're going to have one with a bunch of stuff in it. And then the team that goes out there, or the crew that goes out there, whether it's state funded or federal funded, they're going to address everything.
soup to nuts?
Yeah.
With your painting contract, you'd mentioned average is about $350,000 per bridge, but you also said as they're cleaning them, sometimes they'll blow through. If those are structurally significant areas, are they addressed then in terms of capacity, and are they patch plating, or they comes back later for that?
Just patch plating, from my understanding, is what we do. Yeah.
As part of the painting?
Yeah.
Okay.
After the painting. Yeah.
If it's something catastrophic, we'll call out our steel repair contract.
When you do a corridor project, do you address the highway pavement between the bridges, and do you look at overs and unders, or just one or the other?
No, if we go on a corridor, we're doing everything between 2 mileposts. including overs, unders, main lines. A lot of the ones that go over the interstates that have no associated ramp system, we find that those are really neglected. A lot of them haven't been touched since they were built in the 70s. As far as the pavement, we have a separate pavement division, and they also use federal funds for, I forget what the name of the contract is, pavement rehab or something like that. But we try to coordinate with them as well to do an entire corridor. So between the painting, the highway, and the bridges, we like to keep it all together. We do the best we can with coordinating.
Anything else? Let's give Gerald and Roger a hand.